reason I chose Wake Forest was because of the feeling that you get here. The faculty care about you. You feel like you're joining a family that is invested in your education just like you are. And there's something magic about Wake Forest. It was true then and it's still true now.
Over the last 50 years, I think the important thing that I have seen is increasing respect for the PA profession from a group of people. When it was new, obviously nobody knew much about it at all, to a profession that is highly regarded, highly respected, and in fact integral and essential to healthcare delivery.
To go back a ways, back to when John Smith came in here tonight, we had reason to think he was here to protect the valuable medical books.
The program was started in 1969. I have a feeling it was Manson Meads because the first program was at Duke, and that Manson Meads, I'm sure, had a good connection to Duke. And so we were the third physician assistant program in the country that was started. But the first class that I had, which was the second class that came in, were 8 Vietnam veterans. The reason many of them were there is that medicine had so affected them that that's why they wanted to continue. And the reason the PA profession started, as you probably know, is that there was no place in medicine, no single educational or professional group in medicine opened its arms to these guys. I mean, I knew we were forming a new profession.
The medical professionals didn't really understand what PAs really were qualified to do. And we certainly have come a significantly long way since I graduated.
So the program between 1979 and 1981, which was when I was attending as a student, was similar in some ways, but very different in others.
When I was in the program, we were in the Allied Health Building. At that time, it was a different curriculum that was being delivered in regard to, we didn't have computers.
We had what was called the self-instructional tutorial books.
There were no PA faculty, so the courses were taught by MD, PhD type folks.
We did not have an anatomy class then. The medical director of the PA program didn't think PAs needed to have anatomy then, which was different. So that was a challenge to learn all of the anatomy for ourselves.
Every Friday we had an exam without fail. And so you knew at the beginning of the week you were going to have a major exam on Friday. And then after the exam is when everybody got together and we all figured we failed, so we just kind of got together and shared our misery with each other.
So the whole class always went to somebody's house Friday afternoon for just to relax and to talk and to be together and to share some food and break bread together. So it's a very intense program and it bonds you for life.
We all have contributed to the success of the physician assistant profession. I think we ought to be very proud of ourselves, and just knowing that we're one of the most sought after medical professions. Everybody wants to be a physician assistant now. And I think it is due to everyone that is in the audience and all our alums that fact has really come to be. That Wake Forest now is number 7 in the country in regard to PA programs, and our profession is number 1. So we've come a long way.
And by what processor does one close such a knife if one wanted to?
On this particular knife, there's
I got Pinky. Then I got Pinky. I got Pinky and Patty in the same week.
Now at McDonald's, your kids can get teeny beanie babies and a Happy Meal.
Outside her home, Kensington Palace, and outside Buckingham Palace, crowds have gathered in mourning.
So Winston-Salem in the 90s was, I think, on the verge of a lot of great things in the sense of we've seen so much change in Winston-Salem, and we were a class that was over in what was the Allied Health Building. So I think there was a lot of opportunity in the 90s that had not yet been realized.
I think that it was one of the best times of my life because of how close we were as classmates. It was one of the hardest times of my life, but we came out of it in the end better for it.
So back in the early 2000s, it's when we first moved from a bachelor's program to a master's program. So I was part of the first master's degree. So there was a lot of transition. We were the first class to add a master's project. We were transitioning into a more fully problem-based learning program. In the past, it had been somewhat integrated. So there was a lot of transition in my time.
One of the things that really stands out for me about my experience in the Wake Forest PA program is the fact that we were actually the first class to have laptop computers. And I think that, to say that in this day and age where everyone has not only laptops but smartphones in their pockets is probably pretty just kind of interesting to think about.
So I remember being very close to each of my small group members. I remember us using AOL Instant Messenger constantly, which, that was a big thing back then. We had laptops, we had Palm Pilots, it was the dawn of the technological era, but there was no such thing as an iPhone back then. Sometimes you see people and it's like no time has passed at all. And I wish I was in touch with more of my classmates. I don't know where everybody went, but I know where a lot of people have gone, and for the most part, I'm proud of what each and every one of my classmates has accomplished. They have really done us proud.
I think what makes the Wake Forest PA program in particular sort of unique is our ongoing pursuit of innovation. We have a curriculum that is a bit different from a lot of our peers and have had for a while, but we are continually in pursuit of bettering our product and bettering our processes.
So back in 2011, it was a much smaller program, and we were only in Winston-Salem, so it feels like a much different program, even just in the past few years. The faculty has expanded, so there was fewer faculty, enough really to just do IBL or small group throughout each unit. And so it just felt like a much smaller family at that time, but luckily we've been able to retain that feeling of closeness, even though our student body has really grown by leaps and bounds.
In 2013, we were still a single campus. We were one of the last cohorts that was the single campus on Winston-Salem, where we added the Boone cohort. And at that time, we were at Victoria Hall, downtown. Right within walking distance, we had to pass the county jail if we wanted to go get coffee at Cranky's or something.
Looking back at my 2 years of being a PA student, I was surprised how fast it went. We learned a whole lot. We had a very close-knit group. Spent most of the time together in the Victoria Hall, learning together, and built some pretty good bond with some colleagues that I still keep in touch with to this day. But the key thing is learning valuable lifelong experience, learning the skill set to be a competent PA provider.
It was the class before us, but our class kind of carried on the tradition. We had a foosball table, and I remember we painted like class of 2010 on one side and class of 2011, and there were just epic foosball tables at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Growing up in Winston-Salem, the downtown area didn't really develop the way that it is right now. I'm shocked to see the growth that especially Wake has implemented within the downtown cultures, the innovative headquarters, the new buildings. It's pretty amazing. But I'm frankly a little bit jealous that, the new graduates or the new students and the facility that they get to enjoy at this time, so that's wonderful.
Well, I'm really proud of what our profession has accomplished in over 50 years, and especially our school and the Wake Forest PA program. I've seen over the past 20 plus years an evolution of our profession. We are more respected now. We are sought by patients. We are preferred providers by patients, and our skills have evolved to the point where we're practicing very high level, safe, quality medicine that's trusted by not only patients but other medical providers. So I think pride is my biggest emotion when I think about where we are 50 years later.
Wake Forest has been doing something right for 50 years and putting out providers who genuinely care and who are genuinely making a difference. I have the opportunity to have several professors who have been AAPA presidents or NCAPA presidents, and to have the opportunity at the 50th anniversary to be surrounded by hundreds more like-minded providers, it just blows my mind.
To me, it's not celebration of like myself or what I've accomplished, but it's being part of this honored tradition of Wake Forest, PA. We're known nationally and internationally, but it's not really things that we're doing here. It's our students and our graduates that kind of promote that and just carry that forward across the country and into everything that they're doing. And so to be a part of 50 years of that is really incredible.
So for me, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Wake Forest PA program allows us a time to really reflect on the progress that we've made as the PA profession, being a relatively new profession and being able to think back to what it was like to be a new practicing PA 50 years ago versus now. And we as Wake Forest have had a lot of our graduates, our alum, really on the front lines of those changes and are being able to see PAs used in ways that are really having a positive impact on patient care. And we are changing the way that people talk about PAs, which is an incredible feat. So we really only have more progress to make going forward.